I didn't realize such a weird and embarrassing thing to admit.
I never imagined I'd be speaking these words out loud, let alone to the world. But in hindsight, it's painfully clear. My entire existence was centered on what Kody needed, his needs, his desires, his wants. I was consumed by it. Everything was all about him and the family. And for so long, I had no idea how lost I was. But what if your entire sense of normal is built on something broken, and you don't know it? There's this phrase I heard repeated constantly when I was growing up. You don't know what you don't know. Easy, right? But there is such profundity in the truth of it. Because when you are raised in a bubble, where certain ways of living and thinking are presented as absolute truth, you can't even question it. You can't criticize something you don't know could be otherwise. For me, the bubble was polygamy. I was taught at a young age that husband sharing was simply the way of things. Not only was it normal, it was sacred. It was the way to heaven, the only way to be a goddess in the celestial kingdom. All the women around me embraced it. They all competed for the attention of one man because that's what we were taught made us worthwhile. Imagine living your whole life thinking something, and then finding out it was never yours to have. The phrase, you don't know what you don't know, reemerged in my life upon having children. I grew up in a home where hitting was discipline. It was normal. I didn't realize there was any other way. I simply thought fear and pain were part of childhood. I didn't question it because I had never seen anything else. But as an adult, I met people who were raised differently, people who weren't afraid of their parents, people who were raised with love instead of fear. And suddenly I realized I did not want to pass on what I had gone through. That realization hit me hard, and everything changed. When I became a mother, I made a promise. My child would never know the kind of fear that I did. I wasn't going to continue the cycle. No more secrets, no more fear, just protection, safety, and love. And for the first time in my life, I felt strong, strong to make different choices, strong to put an end to the pain continuing. And here's the truth. It's not always enough to tell ourselves our parents did the best they could. Sometimes they could have done more. Sometimes we must insist on more. Coming to that realization was a wake-up call for me. It woke me up. Now, flash forward and look at Christine Brown Woolley. Her story resonates with this wake-up call on a profound level. At age 50, she's having her own epiphany. And if you've seen her on TV, you probably saw it coming. We all did. We saw the cracks years before she did. But she couldn't see it then, not because she was in denial, but because she'd never known anything else. When you're raised in a culture where women are meant to serve men, to make their universe orbit around them, to accept whatever crumbs they're given, it's your reality. Christine believed so. She thought it was normal to see your husband every fourth day. She thought it was her role to light up his world the moment he arrived home, despite days of neglect. Yet the cracks always show, and eventually, reality becomes too evident to ignore. She would say things like, "Our marriage is exactly like a monogamous marriage, just times 4." But anyone who watched knew that wasn't true. Most monogamous marriages don't come with the emotional price of being one of several wives. There is no love schedule in a regular marriage. There is no splitting emotional leftovers. And now, sitting with Suki, Christine is opening up, finally admitting what she went through. And it's not just about her marriage, it's about generational trauma, about being so deep in a system that you can't possibly see what it's doing to you until you're out. And when you finally do see it, the shame can be overwhelming because the truth is, the signs were always there. Christine is feeling that shame now, that awakening. How did I let this happen? Why didn't I notice? But it's never too late to wake up, to grow, to break the cycle. This story is not just about Christine, it's about all of us. Anyone who's ever lived in a reality they didn't question until they did. Because once you know better, you can do better. And that changes everything. You see, I just keep going back to that one phrase. You don't know what you don't know. And Christine Brown is finally speaking it out loud. She's ashamed. Ashamed that she invested so much of her life as a polygamist, sacrificing every last shred she had to a man who didn't actually notice her. But what if you wake up at last and realize your whole life revolved around someone who never deserved such power? Christine admits that even when Kody wasn't there, she was always planning ahead for him, redoing her life, preparing meals, picturing this perfect room. Because when he did come, it wasn't a matter of coming into her life. It was her putting everything aside to fit him in. And the worst of it? That became the norm. Imagine running a household alone most of the time, raising kids, managing everything, only for the father to appear every fourth day, expecting royal treatment. No compromise, no collaboration, just commands. That's not love. That's not partnership. That's control. And when you zoom out, it gets even darker. Christine is writing about a guy, Kody, who wasn't just emotionally unavailable, but genuinely selfish. He spent weeks with other women, made babies, and didn't bring them up, and treated his children like numbers, not individuals. He wasn't there in their lives unless it was convenient for him. He didn't value the women in his life. He positioned them against one another. This isn't the fault of one man. Christine points to the source. The culture itself produces narcissists. What kind of system teaches boys they are gods and girls they must earn love by erasing themselves and other people's desires? From the very beginning, men in this environment are taught that they're above women, that their role is to be worshipped. The women, they're told to be sweeter, better, to never complain, to never make a fuss. If your husband doesn't love you, it's your fault. You're the one who needs to change. Be more agreeable, be quieter, try harder. And women like Meri recited these self-destructive myths. You can only control yourself, she would tell her, as if the solution to a man who never would value her was a woman changing herself. That's not empowering yourself. That's submission masquerading as wisdom. Christine's now spouting nonsense that sounds like a person who's in therapy. And maybe she is. She's only now perceiving it for what it was. The manipulation, the injustice, the erasure of self. And she's ashamed, not because she herself was in error, but because she at last sees how enormously wrong it was, and for how long she lived in it. She centered her life around Kody, provided him with everything, went out of her way, cooked special meals for him, poured out the good china, created a kingdom fit for a king. And in all of it, he gave so little back, made time on his own schedule only, paid attention when it was easy for him to do so. Even his time with the kids was transactional. When McKelty reflects on growing up, she remembers Kody sitting around watching films, not with his children, but as a treat for himself. Gladiator, fantasy, wizards, dragons. And if the kids wanted to spend time with him, they had to sit and watch something he liked. Their presence optional, their interests irrelevant. That was not parenting, that was performance. He didn't invest in the lives of his daughters. No recitals, no school events. With the boys, naturally, some wrestling, some sports. But even then, this was skin deep. Because when you have that many children and so little commitment, you can't be deeply present to anyone. And here's where it gets chilling. The cult-like structure they lived in gave Kody spiritual authority. He wasn't just a husband, he was a priesthood holder. His word wasn't just law in the house, it was treated as divine. So now imagine this. You're married to a man, but you're also expected to worship him. He's your partner, yeah, but also your God, your gatekeeper to heaven, the center of your universe. And to be allowed to stay in his good graces, you're supposed to become small, quiet, and endlessly accommodating. Christine is breaking that, and she's speaking aloud what we secretly believe. I'm embarrassed I lived like that. But that shame is power too, because it means that she does get it now. And if you see it, then you can never not see it.